Hey everyone, and welcome to the Kimberly Guilfoyle Show, live on Rumble, where facts come first and where news is done right. And we have a jam-packed show for you today, so much to get into. The 2024 GOP primary is heating up, but did Tucker Carlson end a couple of campaigns already? We're going to show you the tape and get a full breakdown with National Pulse editor-in-chief, the great, the one, the only, Raheem Kassam joins us. And plus, FBI Director Wray caught in yet another lie. We have exclusive details with FBI whistleblower Steve Friend. That's coming up. You don't want to miss it. But first, the baffling, bewildering, and bizarre behavior of Joe Biden is somehow, I'm not kidding you, getting worse. And if you thought that this couldn't get any weirder, well, I'm sorry to tell you, you couldn't be more wrong. Because on Biden's recent trip abroad, he once again decided to sniff into a child in the creepiest way possible. Watch.
Overseas, just leaving Finland a short time ago on his way back from the United States. More analysis on his performance on the world stage. And
I mean, the kid is clearly terrified and like, get away from you, creepy guy. So that is just clearly evidence that this man is not fit for office. And frankly, he's not fit for any job at this point. And frankly, he shouldn't be around children. And even over the weekend at the Turning Point Summit, Steve Bannon had this response to Biden's behavior. Watch.
Think about the city on the hill. The city on the hill. Look at how we portray the United States. Joe Biden's over there. He's sniffing some young girl in Lithuania. You see that? You see that? You see that? It's terrible. He's sniffing. The Daily Mail's got to be sitting. The little girl's petrified. She's clinging to her mom. Her mom doesn't know what to do. She's terrified. Hey, Biden, I got a recommendation. If you're going to sniff a little girl, go down to Arkansas and sniff your 7th granddaughter you don't take credit for.
Oh, my God. You love it when Bannon goes Bannon, you know what I'm saying? But he's telling it like it is, and it's very true. It's not like the same video people keep playing. These are all different instances of inappropriate conduct towards children. It is appalling, honestly. Like, keep your children away from Joe Biden, my God. And this is all getting so bad for Biden that even Democrats and the media are searching for answers. CNN even recently ran an article titled, quote, "Slow pace of Biden's re-election campaign feeds Democrats' 2024 anxiety," laying out that behind the scenes, top Democrat donors are reaching out to possible replacement candidates. And meanwhile, on the Republican side, candidates continue to get a brutal reality check about their chances against Donald John Trump in 2024. Because last week in Iowa, they got a grilling from Tucker Carlson. Oof, including this exchange with Mike Pence. Take a look.
Thank you. You are distressed that the Ukrainians don't have enough American tanks. Every city in the United States has become much worse over the past 3 years. Yeah. Drive around. There's not one city that's gotten better in the United States. And it's visible. Our economy has degraded. The suicide rate has jumped. Public filth and disorder and crime have exponentially increased. Right. And yet, your concern is that the Ukrainians, a country most people can't find on a map, who've received tens of billions of U.S. tax dollars, don't have enough tanks. Right. I think it's a fair question to ask, like, where's the concern for the United States in that?
Well, it's not my concern. Tucker, I've heard that routine from you before, but that's not my concern.
Can you even, and I know Mike Pence very well, I cannot even believe that he gave that response when Tucker's laying it all out. The response isn't, that's not my concern. If that's not your concern, then why the hell are you running for president of the United States? That's my question. How can that not be your concern? I mean, it's outrageous. They're making it very easy for Trump because the rest of them don't have a clue and they don't have a chance. But he's not the only one. Pence isn't the only one whose campaign may be ending before it even starts. There's more signs today of serious panic inside the campaign of Ron DeSantis, which just laid off around a dozen staffers. It's burning through cash, but is seeing no serious bump in any of the polls and definitely no bump in the fundraising. So for all of the talk of playing the long game, time is short, money is short, and there's no path to taking down Donald Trump. Okay, folks? So joining me now to break it all down, he is the editor-in-chief of the National Pulse, which recently launched National Pulse Plus. He is the oracle of all things politics, the one and only Raheem Kassam. Raheem, thanks for being with me.
Thank you for having me back. I suppose if I'd got things wrong, I wouldn't have come back.
Oh, well, let me tell you something. You keep getting it right. And we're like, oh, we text back and forth. And it's like, okay, he predicted this. I mean, Twitter's even noticing. They're like, oh, this is what Raheem said. Exactly what's going to happen. So you were on and you predicted that everything basically that we're seeing happen in the primary and about DeSantis's campaign. You predicted it all. It's just coming true. It's happening in real time. So assess for us what's happened in the last month or so and what's happening as we head into the fall.
Look, one of the reasons I think we get it so right over at the National Pulse is that we're kind of obsessives about every single data point, every single story. I watch every single television, radio interview that most of the candidates do. Like, I confess I don't see all of Perry Johnson's appearances, but broader big candidates in the race, we study them intently because I'm looking for patterns. And if you can recognize patterns, you can predict where things are going to go, usually with a fair degree of accuracy, right? Obviously, in all of that comes some, intuition, emotion, whatever. But this is what we do. And that's why we launched the Campaign Trail podcast, to read people into that thing. So when I came and spoke to you last, I said, look, not only will there not be a bump, there won't be a 1% bump. If anything, DeSantis' numbers look like they're heading downward. Now, at the time, everybody said, how could that possibly be? How could you possibly say that? You're just so in the tank for Trump that you're just, making it up as you go along.
Yeah, that's what they said.
And look what's happened since. And in my interactions with these people online, I keep telling them, look, don't believe me. Believe the trajectory, how we've gotten here in the first instance. Believe when the pollsters are now telling you that your boy is down to 14 points and that Ramaswamy is swiftly up his backside. Believe it, because it's true. When your money is running out and we tell you, hey, we know your money is running out, believe us, because we know, because we're paying hyper close attention to these things. And so all of these, there's a perfect storm now brewing over Tallahassee, over the campaign headquarters of Ron DeSantis. And that storm is this. The cash crunch, the donors don't want to give any more money. A lot of them are maxed out already. Very, very difficult to convince people to give to a campaign that's actually losing in the polls rather than gaining any momentum in the polls. The second part of it is there's a great, and I talk to people in there, by the way, a great morale deficit at the moment, as you imagine there would be.
Sure.
They've worked for the last several months. They've achieved nothing except for losing their friends and in a lot of cases, any credibility that they had. And now they wonder where they're going to get jobs next. And then the other part of it is this. DeSantis goes on television, onto the network that shall not be named this weekend. And he says, oh, we had 30, 40 people out in Iowa this weekend. And I had to do a double take. I had to rewind it. I said 30 or 40 people. 30 to 40 people is what this campaign is now bragging about getting out to Governor DeSantis' events in Iowa. There's no magic there. There's no luster. And I'm afraid, I think at the moment, in this moment in time, what we're really seeing is a laundering operation for campaign consultants and vendors, and nothing more than that.
I'm dead serious, and I've been saying that from day one. I mean, these are people telling him to run. Why? You're not giving him good advice. The people that said, oh, you should run. You got this, buddy. Okay, no, they got this. They got the cash, okay, because they don't have any strategy. They're actually hurting Ron DeSantis in the long run. They're actually hurting where he was compared to where he is now, okay, because look at, people aren't sitting there, raving about him anymore, doing anything like that. We've got an absentee landlord because he's gone. He's out campaigning. He won. He got reelected in Florida. And then he's like, thanks, but no thanks. I'm going to go hit the road because now it's decided it's my turn, to be president. In good faith, he should have not run. He should have waited for 2028. I mean, Trump's got one term. Think about it, and continue to do a good job in Florida and not hurt yourself this way, because you lose credibility. Like, why would you do that? And then he's not in a better position now than he was before he announced. He's not. He's in a worse position. And it just makes no sense to me. And I think it's just the consultants and the, those guys making the money and taking in, the cash, and that's it. And he's going to be left with, not even, a quarter of what his reputation was. And I think he'll be seriously damaged for 2028. It's just actually helping the rest of the people that, don't have a chance right now against Trump. But, they'll be in a better position, I guess, in 2028. I don't know. How about he even showed up? Like, he's trying to copy Trump. He's like, oh, I'll go to a fast food restaurant. Oh, that'll be the ticket. And guess what? No one cares. No one cares. Like, he was, what is it, Dairy Queen or something like that? And it was like, they should have planted some of those campaign consultants in there to pretend like they were happy customers to see the guy.
Yeah, that's right. It's copycat stuff. Remember last time I said it for the first time on this show. I said this is the skin suit of MAGA, right? They're wearing a Halloween costume and pretending to be populists, where in actuality this is just another iteration of the establishment. And I don't think Ron DeSantis necessarily started as being an establishment figure, but he has been molded into one by the consultant class and the donor class, and we've watched it happen in real time. Everybody can see that. He's not the same man that he was even a year ago, let alone 2 years ago, and he's going up there now and saying things like, well, I would have fired Fauci at the top of the pandemic, right at its peak. At the same time, Kimberly, we've just got some exclusive reporting up on the National Pulse right now that shows that the Palm Beach director of health, who was shutting things down, prosecuting Floridians, suspending teachers, all of the most heinous things you could do as a public health director, working directly under Ron DeSantis' personal pick for Surgeon General, well, he did nothing to stop her, this woman, Dr. Alina Alonso. So I encourage people to go and read the background of that. Still nothing has been done about what she did, persecuting Floridians, by the way, under his tenure, and weigh it against the promises he's making up on the debate and discussion stages, because it don't add up, it don't stack up. And the reason you feel this thing in your heart that there is just like a massive amount of, lacking of authenticity and inauthenticity from DeSantis is because people aren't stupid. They remember, they see things for themselves. Dr. Alonso told DeSantis to lock down Palm Beach County, and he did. And yet he goes up on a stage and pretends like none of those things occurred under his tenure in Florida. It's a bad way to campaign. People aren't as stupid as the Ron DeSantis campaign staff think they are, and you're seeing that bear out.
That's true, and he's criticizing President Trump about it, and it's like, well, really, let's go investigate exactly how you handled things, and you've done that. I think that's a very important story, by the way. It's an important story. It's accurate. It's factually, based and specific, and people can really take a look at that and say, all right, this guy's going around trying to lie to me about what he did and how he handled things, and then pointing fingers at Trump and saying, Trump, look what you did. You didn't do this and that. You're with Fauci, etc. It's very dishonest. It doesn't make you want to trust the guy or believe him. And it's also like, wait a second, why didn't you do something about it? In fact, why don't you right now, instead of being running around campaigning, actually pay attention to these things and handle them right here, at home? It's just, anyway. But also, there's been this talk with the other campaigns, and I wanted to get your take on this. I keep hearing this. Okay, Raheem, we're playing the long game. We're playing the long game here. That's what our focus is. What is the long game? Because Iowa isn't that far away. So exactly what long game are you playing?
Yeah, it's a really good question, because that is coming out of almost every campaign at the moment. Is they say, we like our odds in the long run. We're playing the long game. All of these things to keep the cash flowing in, really, keep the donors interested, what few donors they have nowadays. And the recent financial disclosures was fascinating for that reason, because Ron DeSantis himself only seems to be receiving about 14.5% of his total donations from small dollar donors. Prior to that, it's all been coming from major corporate donors. Yeah. We did another story about a World Economic Forum board member who has been giving to Ron DeSantis, a Chinese communist-linked hedge funder who's been giving to Ron DeSantis, all the while, of course, the DeSantis people online saying, oh, Trump failed to drain the swamp and he got captured by the swamp and all of this stuff. And look at who the people around Governor DeSantis are. But you're right, it's not just him. It's a lot of the campaigns, and they're all saying this. Here's the problem with that logic, okay? You're now in what we call silly season, right? Which is people are not so much tuned into political news every day as much as they used to be. People want to vacation, they want to enjoy the weather, enjoy the summer, all that kind of thing. So they're not paying as hyper close attention to the news as campaigns would like them to. So really what you're saying is you've got between now and about October, maybe even early November, but most people will have made up their minds going into the winter already. So you've got a very narrow window to grab their attention and change their mind. And it's not like you have to change their mind a little bit. Recent polling has showed that on the issues, economy, crime, immigration, all of those things, Trump is up by 50 to 60 points on his nearest competitor in terms of trustworthiness on those issues. In the Republican field, trustworthiness on those issues. So you have to turn over, massive. I mean, this is unprecedented numbers we're talking about turning over here in the polling on the issues, on the policy issues. This is not just a publicity thing. This is not just a contest, right, to see who can be prom king here. People are drilling down into what they think the issues are that they're going to vote on at the next election, and none of the other candidates seem to be able to catch Trump in any meaningful way on any of them. The only one that you see Ron DeSantis really shining on, by the way, if you really dig down into the data, which is what we do, obviously, at the National Pulse, and I encourage people and invite people to come and join me in my nerdiness over there.
Yeah. And Pulse Plus.
And Pulse Plus, join up, because we do like specific editors' notes on this. We do a podcast every week on this, and the only thing that you see is woke, right? Woke issues. Right. Lots of people like Ron DeSantis on, but that's not enough to get you into the Oval Office. It's not enough to get you to Pennsylvania Avenue. It's not really even enough to get you the Republican nomination. And so the more they lean into that, the more the public seems to lean away from him.
My gosh. Well, with good reason. I mean, and you also saw from Pence and DeSantis a disconnect on the Ukraine issue. This isn't, a top issue per se for GOP voters, but it is to a lot of donors, apparently. Why is that?
Well, look, there's two thoughts behind this, right? Number one, you look at it from the donor perspective, and Janet Yellen said the other day that the Ukraine war is very good for the global economy. I mean, just outright said it.
Flat out
right?
lie.
But I mean, this is what they mean by that, is that they and their corporate buddies can make a lot of money out of this war, right? And so that is where a lot of the donor class are falling on this issue. The other reason I think that you're seeing, I would agree with you that Republican voters don't rank this particularly highly if you isolate it to the Ukraine-Russia conflict. But if you talk about the probability of a global nuclear conflict, a world war, then people do start to care about it in a big way. And when people hedge, and I noticed that Tim Scott was hedging up on that stage, I noticed Ron DeSantis was hedging, Mike Pence was certainly hedging, if not taking the side of Ukraine over America, in what he said.
That's stunning.
Nobody else is just saying, look, here's how it's going to work within 24 hours, and let's just get that off the table here so that we can deal with the issues at home. Nobody else is saying that, because nobody else truly believes that that's the way public policy should be done, because the people who have their talons into them, the donor class, the think tank class, all of that, they are in it for the long game, right? They are in it for the long run. And that long run is, how do we exploit this situation as much as humanly possible to make as much money as humanly possible?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's absolutely right. So now this is, people are talking about, okay, what about this first debate? It's, slated for August. Donald Trump says he doesn't plan to attend. Do you think he should debate? And what would be your strategy if he did?
I would say if the polls were close, then yes. And I've said this in the past as well. If Ron DeSantis were at 30-something points, then there is a rationale there. But it can't be the case that you're dealing with people 1%, 2%, 7%, and they're on the debate stage because they've sold $19 gift cards for $1 on their website, like Doug Burgum is doing, to get that $1 in, to say that you have 40,000 campaign donors and therefore you can be on the RNC debate stage. I think that's farcical, quite frankly, and I think probably Trump's instincts on this are correct. Also, I will say this, nobody's going to tune in really if Trump's not on that stage, and so why should he? Yeah, absolutely boring. I mean, you saw what happened when they stood in front of Tucker Carlson. Imagine them standing in front of Donald Trump.
Right.
And I just think, why should he lend his celebrity to helping a bunch of, also rans? I mean, Mike Pence, who is, I'm sorry, I know you know him, but I think has behaved just terribly, especially since January 6th. And
I don't disagree. I mean,
Yeah.
it's heartbreaking to me. It's just terrible.
Why
don't even
boost
get me
them?
started.
Why boost those people?
Right. No, I don't think he wants to. He's, how he is, and he goes with his gut, and he thinks these things through. But he's not afraid to make a tough decision like that. He doesn't care if people criticize him about it. Say, "Oh, Trump, why aren't you going to go ahead and debate?" He didn't have to. Okay.
No.
He was
And he's not
president of the
exactly
United
inaccessible,
States.
is he?
No, he's the front runner. He decides. Things happen on his terms. So what does he need to do? Go in there so somebody can make some smart aleck remark to him, or they try to get some gotcha moment or whatever. He doesn't have anything to gain by doing it. Potentially something to lose. Although I personally, and you aren't either, worried about him handling himself. We saw him make mincemeat out of like 16 very qualified, people, and the same thing with Hillary and with Biden. I mean, the whole thing is it's a joke. But nevertheless. Who do you think right now in the GOP side, who's being at least smart, or you think is handling themselves right? Like, how do you see this shaking out? Give me your, kind of analysis on the rest of them.
Yeah, I do a sort of roundup of this every week on my podcast, which is called, we're only on episode 3. It's called The Campaign Trail. And people can find it at thenationalpulse.com. And I kind of take the big flashpoints of the week. And this week's flashpoint was, hey, look, Vivek Ramaswamy sounded really good on that stage with Tucker Carlson. He's running a really interesting campaign. He's working actually harder than any of the other candidates out there. I mean, he's in different places every single day. And yeah, I mean, obviously there are things about Vivek Ramaswamy's background that you want to probe a little bit. The Paul and Daisy Soros Fellowship, other such things that he's done in his business life. But he's resonating with people. He's saying the right things, and he's saying them authentically. And I got a chance this week on the podcast to interview Vivek about the campaign, about how he's running it, about how he's dealing with these issues on the stump. And I have to say, as somebody who has done this for a very long time and studies it intensely and intently, Vivek has momentum. There's no doubt about it. Nobody else does. The only other momentum on the field is downwards for DeSantis.
Oof. That just summed it up right there. Literally. His momentum is downward, right? I mean, it's really true. And I don't even know how he fixes it, but I'm not helping. Don't give any good advice. All right, so on the Democrat side, there's more chatter about going in different directions. We mentioned some of the articles and news coverage about it for 2024. But if Biden were to be replaced, what are the kind of like mechanisms to actually even do that? How would it be framed, do you think, to the public?
Yeah, this is something that I'm looking into at the moment, because on the one hand, I think a lot of people say, okay, how can they run this geriatric, sniffer in chief for another term here, and kind of scratch their heads and say somebody else must be jumping in here. And of course, people are looking at that. But on the other hand, you look at the fundraising numbers recently, and the DNC and Biden put together raised some pretty good numbers, 72 million in the last quarter. That we're talking about more than all of the other major candidates on the other side, on the Republican side, combined in that quarter. So you've got to be looking at that and saying, well, hey, I mean, we've got Biden's name on the top of the email fundraisers, and money is coming in. We put the guy in a room and money flows in. So why would we give up that cash cow and take a chance on somebody who will upset the Democrat, the DNC's apple cart, right? Upset the way, because when new candidates come in, new people come in, you start changing up consultants, you start changing up vendors and all of that sort of thing. So it makes everybody very, very nervous. Right now, the sound money is on another Biden run, because the apparatus and the institutions that are surrounding that,
the infrastructure is there.
The infrastructure will just resist change just too heavily. And we've seen this in the DNC before, right? We've seen how they locked out Bernie Sanders. We've seen how they've kept other candidates out. They're doing it to RFK right now. It's, I'd still bet on Biden being on that ticket.
Ugh. More Biden and Kamala. I mean, I don't think anybody, honestly, besides the infrastructure argument that you're making, wants those two. And I think the money's coming in because the Democrats and the liberals and the lunatics and the Soros types, that's cash to throw up against Trump.
Yeah, these people are money in the bank, right? They're money in the bank, their favors in the bank. It's there. It's in your pocket. Why change it? Too risky. People like that don't take risks for no reason. They're very calculating people. They put their money and they invest their money, where they believe the highest return will be and the quickest return will be. And Joe Biden at the moment represents that.
Yeah, he does. And then talk to me for a second about RFK Jr. Like he I think has some momentum. People seem to be liking him. I mean, I know him personally as well. It's interesting because I've even heard from a lot of Trump people that like him.
Yeah, that's right. And I hear from a lot of right-wing donors and people who have given, for example, to Governor DeSantis. They are now giving to RFK instead. And, that is certainly very interesting. It's an interesting dynamic that I don't think a lot of people expected. But you've also started to see the hit pieces that have come out. I mean, really nasty hit pieces.
Because he started to have some momentum and people paying attention to him like, oh, we better shut this down.
Yeah, but I mean, he was at a private dinner discussing, how COVID targets people of different races, according to a paper that had been recently published. I mean, a peer-reviewed paper that you can search online very easily, and it's just trying to identify, right, who deals with this better and who doesn't in the world. You'd think would be a thing that would be, pretty interesting to somebody who's dealt with this and the vaccine issues for many decades. And they spin it. The New York Post spins it as RFK says Jews, are immune because COVID doesn't target them, and tries to make this whole anti-Semitic thing out of it. I think it's fairly lowbrow hit pieces you're seeing at the moment, and quite frankly, if I were him, I would wear them as a badge of honor and say, look how worried they are about me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really true. You're quite right about it. I'll tell you that much. Well, we always look forward to having you on, Raheem. I love it. The Oracle, that's what we call him. And go out and check out his podcast too, which is very exciting and really good. Go to National Pulse, right? And join National Pulse Plus, and then you can get the podcast as well.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
Fantastic. All right, you're the best. Take care, honey.
Cheers.
And we have much more to come, including what's been going on behind the scenes at the FBI. Whistleblower Steve Friend will be here. So make sure you like, please, and subscribe. Just hit the little button right there so you never miss an episode. And it's all of you who make this show possible, along with our amazing sponsors. So be sure to please go check out the great folks over at Goldco. Gold and silver can protect your retirement savings from inflation and dollar devaluation. I mean, look. We all see the economic warning signs, right? We see banks collapsing, we see reckless spending, and I want you to be ready. I'm ready. With Goldco, you can take action to secure and stabilize your portfolio. You can roll over your 401k or your IRA into precious metals and safeguard your savings, and you can do it all tax and penalty free. So from precious metals, IRAs, to direct purchases of gold and silver, Goldco has helped thousands of Americans place over $2 billion in gold and silver. And when you open up a qualifying gold IRA today, you can get up to $10,000 in free silver. Take the money. Go get it. Go get the silver. Go to kimsmetals.com to learn more. That's kimsmetals.com. And they'll help you out. The folks over at Goldco are really helpful. They'll walk you through it step by step and make the process very easy. And I also want to bring you a message from Patriot Lifestyle, where you can save more and spend less on a whole host of different benefits, from non-insurance healthcare benefits to savings on travel, identity theft, legal services, and even pet care. Take a look. Kimberly Guilfoyle here, and I'm so excited to introduce the Patriot Lifestyle Benefits Program. With our Patriot Lifestyle Benefits Program, you get a range of non-insured healthcare benefits at an affordable price so you can save money, stay healthy, and stay secure. For example, need to consult with a doctor 24/7 without leaving your home? Our telemedicine service gives you the ability to talk with a board-certified physician in your state with no per-visit fees. And what about keeping that healthy smile and clear vision? Our dental and vision discounts will keep you smiling and seeing clearly, all at a great price. And when visiting patriotbenefits.net, don't forget to download your free Freedom RX Pharmacy Discount Card in appreciation for your continued support. But that's not all. Our program goes beyond just health and wellness. We also offer identity theft protection so you can stay on top of any unauthorized, fraudulent, or illegal activity. And you also have access to free and discounted legal services so you can protect your rights and receive top legal advice without breaking the bank. And even take care of your furry friends with discounts on pet food, toys, medicine, grooming, and even trips to the vet. Plus, enjoy peace of mind on the highway with our roadside assistance program. Now, as a member of our Patriot Lifestyle Benefits Program, you'll have access to exclusive discounts with NB Cash Back so you can save even more on your everyday expenses like groceries, restaurants, and even auto services. And with NB Travel, you can experience more but spend less by enjoying deep discounts on flights, hotels, and so much more. At no additional cost, these benefits are available to you and your immediate family to use anytime, anywhere. Our program is designed specifically for America First patriots like you who understand the importance of not just a great dollar value, but the need to let your dollars reflect your values and supporting companies who support you. And the best part of all of this, our benefits are at below market prices, so you can enjoy them while living the Patriot lifestyle to the fullest. So don't miss out. Visit our website at patriotbenefits.net. That's patriotbenefits.net. Thank you again for choosing the Patriot Lifestyle Benefits Program, where real benefits and real savings are our top priority. Join us today and start saving now. And you can go to patriotbenefits.net to learn more. These programs all come at an extraordinary value and will improve your life, indeed. Now turning to yet even more massive corruption inside the FBI, as House Judiciary member Congressman Mike Johnson says FBI Director Wray made a series of false statements, lied, during his testimony last week, including claims that the Bureau followed proper procedure and didn't show bias in investigating the bribery claims against Joe Biden. And that's not all. Wray is still claiming that the Bureau never investigated speech of parents at school board meetings, but FBI whistleblower Steve Friend said he was personally directed to do just that. My God. But despite all of this, it's the whistleblowers who are being attacked and targeted by the FBI and House Democrats who are falsely claiming the only reason they came forward was to benefit themselves. It's insane. All right, joining us now is the author of True Blue, My Journey from Beat Cop to Suspended FBI Whistleblower, Steve Friend. Steve, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thanks for having me today, Kimberly.
All right. So, I mean, it probably just blows your mind when you hear this stuff and you're just like, wow, these people have no ethics, no problem with just saying flat out lies. So Chris Wray made a series of untrue statements in his testimony last week. Lay out some of the worst examples.
Well, first and foremost, he talked about how the FBI was not in the business of policing speech and assigning agents to go to school board meetings. Mm-hmm. Well, I can tell you from personal experience that is exactly what happened in my office in Daytona Beach, Florida. We were tasked with doing some surveillance of a domestic terrorism suspect. He had voiced online that he was going to be attending a school board meeting at his local county because there had been some pornographic material found in the school library. It was expected to be quite contentious. This was along the same times as the Loudoun County drama that was going on. And it was very clear to me, because this individual was a January 6th subject, that the FBI was attempting to marry the anti-government white supremacy narrative that it's painted with January 6th to parents at school board meetings. So went to the school board meeting, surveilled this individual there, and was tasked with documenting license plates for anybody who he had any sort of contact with or seemed to have communication with. So we were going to build out the network for this person. And I think that Christopher Wray, I've been very public about that. I made that imparted that wisdom and knowledge to Congressman Gates when I testified in May.
Yes.
So for Christopher Wray to claim that he does not know that or was not aware of that is just false.
Yeah, it's disheartening to say that, you know, these are people we're supposed to entrust, you know, with this institution, with that, you know, government agency to be of the highest caliber, and just it's really disappointing, quite frankly, and it must be painful for you in many ways because you know the truth, you testified honestly, and then to see them flat out lie, like there should be some repercussions for this. Don't you agree?
I do, but there's just a lack of self-awareness from Christopher Wray. I mean, he likes to throw out this comment whenever he's confronted with the fact that public approval of the FBI is at record low levels, and he always cites the fact that there are high numbers of applicants and high retention rate within the FBI as a reason for why he thinks he's doing just fine and doing a great job. And I compare that to a restaurant owner. You know, and the restaurant owner's customers are the people that are buying his food. Christopher Wray's customers are the American people. So if the restaurant owner's customers are saying there's E. coli in the food, you can't then claim that I have a record number of people who want to be waiters at my restaurant and think that you're doing a good job. But Christopher Wray continues to say that the applications for FBI agent are very high in a down economy during a let's go Brandon inflation, where you can have an opportunity to not work very hard and collect a paycheck that's probably 2x what the average American makes. It's just not a legitimate counter to any sort of criticism of his agency.
No, you're absolutely right. And now an ethics complaint has been filed against Democrat Congressman Dan Goldman, who claimed you and other whistleblowers were, quote, bought and paid for by Kash Patel. What is your response to all these smears?
Well, there's just so many that they can't seem to keep them straight. So they confused Kyle Seraphin, who's another whistleblower, with Kash Patel, because I guess their first names start with the letter K.
Oh my God.
But I will put my patriotism up against Dan Goldman any day of the week when I wanted to go do the work of investigating child pornographers and violent actors and assaulters on Indian reservations, and he has the gumption to stand up there and say that I'm bought and paid for because I sacrificed my career to uphold my oath and gave up a lucrative career. And his insinuation is that I did that in the off chance that I would get $5,000 from an individual, Kash Patel's organization, when I've never met Kash. And his organization contacted me several months after I was suspended, going into Christmas, and said that without asking for any sort of acclaim or credit, said to keep it on low, that they just wanted to support me and my family for Christmas time in our time of need. So I think I'm and my wife certainly shares a sentiment that we're very blessed to live in a country where organizations can be founded by men like Kash Patel, who just want to help people who have done the right thing and sacrificed everything.
Absolutely. God bless. He's a great friend of mine, of Don Jr.'s. And it's just so disgusting how these people are, and the smears and what they do. And I know it's not easy to deal with. Believe me, we have to deal with this stuff every day too. But I'm personally telling you that I'm sorry that you have had to go through this, and that your family has. And think about that. You know, think about his family, folks. You know, at Christmas time, and here getting a little extra cash in to maybe make the holidays, you know, not as tough. And then they use that against them. It's just, to me, it's just it's so dishonest and so repulsive. So I'm sorry that you had to go through that. I'm sorry Kash had to go through that. But you know, such is life. We push ahead and persevere. So talk to me. You were reassigned, right, from investigating child trafficking, okay, to the January 6th investigation. By the way, this really hits home because, you know, what's going on now in the incredible movie with my friends Eduardo and then Tim Ballard. You know, Sound of Freedom is doing unbelievably well, breaking box office records, really exposing what's going on with child trafficking. They move you off of that important job and assignment to the January 6th investigation. You know, what does that say about the FBI's priorities?
Well, I think it shows how the organization is just captured by its political agenda and its quota system. So that's yet another lie on Christopher Wray's part when he testified a week ago, and it happened to me. I was at the end of the fiscal year in 2021 reassigned from working on child pornography, human trafficking, to the January 6 cases. And in my office, it was my first exposure to those cases. So I took it seriously, figured that that's a finite amount of resources and I would look into it. But the truth of the matter is those cases were already investigated and sitting idle. And the FBI was willing to let me hand over, or wanted me to hand over, the cases that I was working, where there were some pretty awful people doing some pretty awful things. And I was told that those crimes against children were going to be considered a local matter going forward, and that I really need to focus on domestic terrorism. When in fact, the task force that was organized in my office, the small group that it was, I mean, they were sitting there on their hands with nothing to do. I think that it just shows that the FBI is willing to go along with this political narrative that domestic terrorism is indeed this great, grave threat to the homeland, when it's just not true. And really, that's something that we're all blessed, again, to live in a country where that threat isn't legitimate. And the fact that the FBI wants to keep this narrative going shows that it is, in fact, a very weaponized and woke agency.
Unbelievable. Let's talk about your book. You have a book out called True Blue. What is your current status, at the FBI? But talk to me first about the book.
Yes. So I was
it's a great
suspended
cover,
from
by the way.
Thank you. And thank my wife for actually forcing me to go kicking and screaming to get pictures done in my SWAT uniform.
Hey, that's good. Worth it.
That's right. So I was suspended last September from the FBI. Among the many usurpations that I experienced from them was their refusal to allow me to gain outside employment because I was placed in an unpaid, indefinite suspended status. I had to eventually resign in order to secure my position now because I'm a fellow at the Center for Renewing America. But in the meantime, when I sat home and idle, didn't have very much to do, I had an opportunity to kind of put my thoughts down on paper and about the experiences that I had at the FBI and as a police officer before that, and then also explain the whistleblowing process and my concerns that I had about the January 6 cases and about how the FBI is now making the process, the punishment to bring so many people into custody, and I think putting the public safety at risk. So had an opportunity to put that down, and then it was officially published and released publicly last month. In June, and as a result of some great attention by folks like yourself, and then also some hit pieces who can't seem to understand what the Streisand effect actually is. They've driven eyeballs to it, and I hit the #1 book on Amazon in the law enforcement category a week ago.
So cool. Congratulations. Yeah, it's absolutely outstanding. See, there's good people out there that want to hear the truth and want to support an individual who served his country, like yourself. So I'm super happy that people are buying it so they can get it on Amazon and anywhere else.
Yes, it's available at Barnes & Noble as well. It's a Simon Schuster book. Post Hill Press is the publisher. So if you don't want to give Jeff Bezos the money, it is available at Barnes & Noble.
That's why I asked. We'll just go there too. And what about your career path? So many people have written in, asking about you and your family. Where do you take it from here? What do you aspire, to? What do you feel, passionate about? Because I know you have so much to offer.
Yeah, well, so right now, since last February, I've been working as a fellow on domestic intelligence and security services at the Center for Renewing America, helping to try to push this weaponization select committee under the judiciary along and identify the problems that I experience and that I have access to from people within the FBI, and hope to bring about some reform and advise it in that capacity. And then going forward, I'm somebody with 14 years of law enforcement and know a thing or two in that area. So hopefully an opportunity will present itself. Definitely have a passion for things like what Mr. Ballard does. So that's always on the horizon for me. If anything is there, that I would definitely really want to give that a long, hard look, because I think that that's definitely fulfilling work. But for the time being, I'm going to help to the Congress to investigate the investigators who with the FBI and hopefully bring some reform there, because they are in dire need of a massive overhaul.
I agree. I mean, you're absolutely right. You can't say it enough. Investigate the investigators. That's what needs to happen. And then there needs to be, consequences. There's, repercussions for this. It's got to be. There has to be justice here. If Chris Wray was sitting right here with you, right now, what would you tell him?
Well, I would say that he has to have some fear of actual accountability, because hopefully there's some courage in the Republican caucus for holding him to account for what he did. And that's why he felt comfortable walking into that hearing there and chuckling when it was suggested that how he could survive without being paid for 10 months, when my good friend Garrett O'Boyle underwent that very same experience. And he can go in and say, we're not in the business of doing X, Y, Z, when he's presented with objective evidence that, in fact, the FBI is doing that. And I think that he needs to lay out a plan for shutting down the FBI, because in a future presidential administration, I'm hopeful, at least when the power changes hands to somebody else other than Joe Biden, that task will fall to him or to a future director. And I think that is something that needs to be legitimately taken into consideration, how they're going to shutter the building, or at least take some efforts to eliminate the guns from the FBI, which I keep pushing out, that maybe we need to think about disarming rather than defunding the FBI, and putting that power in the hands of the local law enforcement that actually can speak to the threats and the issues that are in their local communities, rather than the dictates of the man sitting behind the desk at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
I think that's very interesting. Not just defund, but take the gun. You're absolutely right. And there's got to be some serious reforms. You can't walk away from this. You can't, after now what we've all seen and what's been exposed, like, you can't just go back to business as usual. Like, there has to be something, serious consequences. And for those that have also lied, testified falsely to Congress, okay? That's a crime. So I applaud your bravery and all the best to your family and to your great wife. Congratulations on your fabulous book. Everyone listening at home, please go out and get it. True Blue. You can get it on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, and you will enjoy it. It will be time well spent. Thank you so much, Steve.
Thank you very much today.
Okay, take care. And my closing remarks just ahead, but we have another important word from one of our sponsors, Patriot Mobile. With Patriot Mobile, you put America first with every call you make, all the while getting the same nationwide coverage as major carriers. And not only does Patriot Mobile provide you dependable wireless service at an affordable price, they also share your values, and they actually support you. Patriot Mobile puts their dollars into action. I think this is really important. Donating a portion of every dollar to support groups that fight for the First Amendment, for the sanctity of life, and for protecting our brave police and first responders. Patriot Mobile, mobilizing freedom and supporting you. So for free activation, please go to patriotmobile.com/KG. That's patriotmobile.com/KG for free activation. And in closing tonight, it ultimately falls on we the people to demand change and demand accountability to those who abuse power. For too long, we've allowed corruption to compound and chaos to continue. But we have a chance in 2024 to get back on track, to restore sanity to our government. It's not going to be easy, but we are moving closer to victory every day. Here's President Trump at the Turning Point Conference over the weekend. Watch.
War is our final battle. With you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers from our government. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, fascists. We will throw off the sick political class that hates our country. And we will rout the fake news media. We will defeat crooked Joe Biden, and we will drain the swamp once and for all. We made a lot of progress, but it's pretty deep.
That's what a real leader sounds like. Not one who is sniffing children and falling on stairs and driving this country off a cliff. We need a leader actually committed to making our lives better, instead of selling out to the swamp. And we will have much more to cover on all of this. So I want to thank you for being with us right here on Rumble, where we reject the false narrative and we always seek the truth. So please be sure to like and subscribe to my channel. Do it now if you haven't, please. At Kimberly Guilfoyle and Don Jr.'s channel as well. Turn on notifications, download the Rumble app, And tell all your friends and your family so they know exactly where to find us. And please be sure to follow us across all platforms as well, myself and Don Jr., Twitter, Truth Social, Facebook, and Instagram. And please don't miss Don Jr.'s big show at 6 p.m. Eastern tonight. You won't want to miss it. And if you can, hop over to Locals for a live Q&A. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you all right back here on Thursday.